Hi friends, in this video we're going to talk about how to monitor the availability of websites or any devices with an IP address that support pinging using the Elastic Stack consisting of Heartbeat, Elasticsearch and Kibana. Alright, let's talk about how these pieces fit together. Heartbeat is a lightweight shipping agent that monitors the websites or devices and sends that information to Elasticsearch for storage. So we take a machine and install Heartbeat in that and configure Heartbeat to monitor the availability of websites or devices. Then Heartbeat continuously monitors these devices and stores this availability information in the Elasticsearch database. So Heartbeat is the monitoring agent and it uses Elasticsearch for the storage. Now the availability information is continuously being stored in Elasticsearch. Since the data is in Elasticsearch, you can obviously use Kibana to visualize and analyze the availability information present in Elasticsearch. So obviously using Kibana, you can create dashboards, view the raw logs of the Heartbeat and do some analysis using Kibana visualizations. And you can even manage the index settings or the storage settings of the Heartbeat index. So this is how Heartbeat, Elasticsearch and Kibana can be used together to create a monitoring solution to monitor the uptime of websites or devices. So that's the architecture we are going to implement now. Now let's try to install Heartbeat first. So Heartbeat can be downloaded and installed as a Windows background service. So you can just Google search download Elasticsearch Heartbeat, or you can go to this link, and this link will download the Heartbeat zip file. And if you unpack the zip file, you will find the Heartbeat folder with all the Heartbeat installation files. You can copy this folder and paste it in C program files. So now I have pasted my Heartbeat folder in C program files and I have renamed it to be short like Heartbeat 8.10.2. So now I have downloaded and installed Heartbeat in my Windows machine. Now we need to configure Heartbeat to connect to Elasticsearch. So obviously Elasticsearch is the database which Heartbeat is going to use to store the data. So if you don't know what Elasticsearch database is, and if you don't know how to install and configure Elasticsearch and Kibana in Windows, I've already made a playlist on that and I will leave the link of this playlist in the description. So I've got Elasticsearch already up and running in my machine. Now I will configure Heartbeat to connect to Elasticsearch. To do that, in the Heartbeat folder, there is a file called heartbeat.yml. You can edit this file to configure Heartbeat. You can open it with Notepad or VS Code. I choose to use VS Code here because VS Code has some syntax highlighting for YML files. So in the YML file, search for output.elasticsearch section. So I've got the section output.elasticsearch and in that write the address of Elasticsearch. So my Elasticsearch is running on localhost 9200 on HTTPS. So I've written hosts as localhost 9200 and protocol as HTTPS. And I've written the username and password of the Elasticsearch database here. And since I'm using the local certificate, I've kept SSL verification mode as none because Elasticsearch is using a dummy HTTPS certificate. But obviously, if it's using a genuine HTTPS SSL certificate, this is not required. But in my case, I had to keep SSL verification mode as none because I'm using localhost to host Elasticsearch. So just by using this section, you can configure the connectivity between Heartbeat and Elasticsearch. So now save this file and close this heartbeat.yml. Alright, I have configured Heartbeat to connect to Elasticsearch. Now, for Heartbeat to store data in Elasticsearch, it needs to have an index template because index can be formed if there is an index template. So to set up the index template of Heartbeat in Elasticsearch, you need to run a command. So for that, open a command line in the Heartbeat folder. So I'm going to open a command window here. So now I opened a command window in Heartbeat folder, and before you run this command, make sure that Elasticsearch is running. So I'm going to go to my services and I'm going to search for Elasticsearch and I'm going to start this service actually. So now my Elasticsearch database is running. Now the command you need to run is heartbeat.exe space setup space -e. So basically it will set up the index template of Heartbeat in Elasticsearch. So I'm gonna go ahead and run this. You can see index template setup is finished. Alright, we have successfully set up the index template of Heartbeat in Elasticsearch. Alright, we have configured the connectivity between Heartbeat and Elasticsearch, but we did not configure the monitors till now, right? So each website or device you need to monitor is called a monitor. The term you use is a monitor. So Heartbeat can be configured with multiple monitors. So let's try to create some monitors in Heartbeat. So inside the Heartbeat folder, you got a folder called monitors.d. So just open this and here you got a lot of templates here, and each monitor should end with a .yml. So in order to make it disabled, they have kept an extension called .disabled. So you can actually use this as a reference. So let's try to create a monitor in this monitors.d folder. So here I have created a blank text file called sites.http.yml. Remember, the extension is not txt, the extension is .yml. So for the sake of a demo, let's try to create a HTTP monitor. Let's try to open it with VS Code. You can even open it with a notepad. Alright, this is how I can define a simple HTTP monitor. So the type would be HTTP. The ID would be site1 HTTP monitor. In this case, you can write any ID. It should be a unique identifier, and then give a readable name to that website, and then keep enabled as true and give the schedule. Here the schedule is every 5 seconds. I want to monitor every 1 minute. So I'm going to write 60 seconds. And the host is the website you want to monitor. You can write any website here. For now, I'm keeping the website as https://example.com. And you can decide if you want to do it in IPv4 or IPv6, and then the timeout for the request. So obviously after 16 seconds, the request will be terminated and it will be declared as unavailable. So after you create a monitor here, you can even create multiple monitors in the same file actually. So this is a list in YML actually. So this is the first list item. You can just copy this and paste this here, and then you can say something like site2 HTTP monitor. The name is site2 and the schedule is every 60 seconds. And let's try to actually ping Google here. So google.com and save this. And obviously you need administrative permissions to save the file. So I am retrying is admin. So now I have configured 2 monitors in a single YML file. But if you want, you can even create a new YML file and create monitors in them. That means you can create each YML file for each website, or you can have a group of websites in one YML file and group of websites in another YML file, whatever you want. Ultimately, in a YML file, there should be a list item which will be a monitor. Alright, for now I have created 2 HTTP monitors in a single YML file. Let's try to save this and close it. So alright, I have configured 2 websites in the YML file, and now Heartbeat is ready to monitor 2 websites and ready to connect to Elasticsearch. We have configured the connectivity and the monitors in Heartbeat. Now let's try to install the Heartbeat as a Windows service. It's really simple actually. Just run the ps1 file install service Heartbeat ps1. And if you have some restrictions on running the PowerShell, you can use this command powershell.exe execute policy unrestricted file install service heartbeat.ps1. So go to the Heartbeat folder and open a command window here, and here run the command powershell.exe execution policy unrestricted file install service heartbeat ps1. So run this, and obviously it's gonna ask run or not. I can say run once by pressing R. So it's saying permission denied because I did not use an administrative command prompt. So let's try to open an administrative command prompt now. So I'm going to say cmd run as administrator, and now I'm going to go to the folder C program files Heartbeat, and now I'm going to paste the command, and now let's run the command. Run once R, and you have successfully created a service. Obviously I had a service already, so it has deleted the service and created a new service actually. You can see the status of the service just by writing sc query Heartbeat, because the name of the service is Heartbeat, and you can see the Heartbeat service is present, but it's stopped currently. Alright, just by a single PowerShell command, I was able to set up Heartbeat as a Windows background service. Now let's run the Heartbeat to store data in Elasticsearch. So I'm going to write sc start. The name of the service is Heartbeat, so I'm going to write Heartbeat, and that's it. Heartbeat is running now. And now we should see data in Elasticsearch. To see data in Elasticsearch, you need Kibana. I've already installed Kibana in my machine, and it's running as a background service, and I've stopped it actually. So let's gonna start Kibana again. Now Kibana is started in my machine, and now I can open Kibana to access Elasticsearch. Alright, since my Kibana service is running, I'm able to see Kibana in localhost 5601. Let's try to log into Kibana with Elastic user. Alright, if everything goes good, you can see your monitors in the observability tab. So go to the observability tab, and here you can see your monitors in the monitors section. There are 2 monitors actually. Let's try to click on the show monitors, and in the last 15 minutes it's going to show you the data. And you can even change this here for the last 7 days, 30 days, whatever, and then refresh. And here you got two monitors. The name is site1 and site2. The URL is example.com, google.com, and you can see the graph here. You can select only site1, and this is the dashboard for site1. So by default, in the newer Kibana versions, under the observability tab, you can directly see your monitors and their availability over time. Alright, this is how you can easily view the availability information in the default observability tab of Elasticsearch Kibana. So in the heartbeat folder, in the monitors.d folder, I have created sites.http.yml file, and in that I have kept my monitors. But hey, I have said we can even ping devices for the availability information instead of pinging websites. So let's try to create an ICMP monitor file. So I'm going to create a new file. So I've created a new YML file and I would name it devices.icmp.yml. So let's try to open it with VS Code. So here, let's try to create a monitor to monitor a device IP address. So suppose you want to monitor a workstation in your LAN. You want to see when it is up or down. If the workstation supports the ping, the monitor will continuously ping the workstation and give you the availability information. So I've taken an example IP address here and I'm giving the monitor type as ICMP, ID as my device, name as device ping, and schedule is every 300 seconds. That means every 5 minutes it will ping the device for availability, and the timeout and wait and the standard stuff. And since it's a list in YML file, you can even add one more monitor here. So I'm adding a monitor for device 2 with a different IP address and it will monitor every 300 seconds. So let's try to save this, and obviously I need to save as an admin, and that's it. Now I configured Heartbeat to monitor IP addresses using ping. Alright, since I've actually added new monitors, let's try to restart Heartbeat service. So I'm in the services app, I've searched for the Heartbeat service and I'll right click and stop and then right click and start. Now Heartbeat will include those two monitors also. So again, let's go to Kibana and let's go to the observability tab, and now I'm able to see four monitors. Obviously these two are down because I actually don't have that IP series in my LAN. Those were dummy IP addresses, so obviously the status would be down. You can see the status down has a different color so that you can easily monitor the downtime actually, and you can even filter for particular monitors in the observability tab. So if you want to search for only one monitor, I can just write my URL here, example.com, and only one monitor is showing, and this is the status of the monitoring. Now if I want to see the monitoring for the IP address, just paste the IP address, click enter, and you can see the only one IP address monitoring status here. Obviously you can change the time. You can see for the last 7 days or the last 1 hour, 15 minutes, whatever. You can even select custom time range. Just click on this, click the absolute start time, click the absolute end time, and like this you can even monitor for custom time range also. I'm going to reset again to last 15 minutes. So that's how you can easily use the observability tab in Kibana right away to monitor your monitors. Alright, we have successfully installed Heartbeat, configured the monitors, sent the data to Elasticsearch, and used Kibana to monitor the availability information interactively. Alright, along with observability tab in Kibana, you can have some community built dashboards for better visibility of the monitoring. So there is this GitHub link called github.com/elastic/uptime and in this URL you can find the dashboards folder, and here in the 7.x here you have a dashboard.nd.json. So download this file and search for the saved objects in the Elasticsearch Kibana. So I'm going to write saved objects, and you got the Kibana/saved objects, and here import, click on this and select the http dashboard.nd.json file, and then a lot of visualizations and settings will be imported into your Kibana. So remember, after you install Heartbeat and configure Heartbeat, so go to this GitHub repository and download this nd.json file and upload it into the saved objects. So you'll get by default a lot of dashboards and visualizations imported into your Kibana. Now let's try to see how the logs are stored. In fact, the index pattern is also conveniently imported from the nd.json file. So you don't need to actually create index pattern also. Now let's try to see the raw logs on how the logs will be stored by Heartbeat. So I'm going to go to the left menu and inside the analytics tab, go to discover. You can even search in the search bar for discover, and you can open the discover page. And in the index pattern, select Heartbeat star. And now you can see the logs stored by Heartbeat in Elasticsearch. You can even change the timing from last 15 minutes to let's say last 1 hour. and these are the logs being stored. This is the count of logs, and here are the raw logs. Let's try to zoom out so that I can see the list better. And here this is the each log being stored. Let's try to expand a log and see what is stored. Each log is actually a JSON. So what Heartbeat does is it will monitor the site or IP address and create a log, whether it's up or not. And each log would be something a JSON like this. Here I will just search for a field name called summary.up. So if the summary.up is 1, that means your monitor is up. If the summary.up is 0, your monitor is 0. And you can see what monitor it is. I can just search for monitor.id. You can see monitor.id is site2 HTTP monitor, and monitor name is site2, and it has even resolved the IP address. If I search for the URL, I can see the monitor was using the URL google.com. So this way you can click on each document and see the detailed log created by Heartbeat in Elasticsearch. And in this Kibana Discover page, you can even see the logs like tabular form. I'll just search for a field summary.up, click on this press button. You can see the summary.up column coming here. And let's try to add one more thing like monitor.name. Just click on this press button and you got the monitor.name. And if you want to filter for only one site, you can just hover on this and click on this plus button, and a filter will be created here. So only site 2's logs will be shown in the list. You can even click on this and edit the filter to actually change it to another monitor. Let's try to change it to device 1 ping and update filter. Now only device 1 ping's logs would be visible. So this way, using the Discover tab of Kibana, you can see the raw logs and do analysis. But hey, seeing the dashboard instead of raw logs would be more beautiful, right? So in the search bar, just search for dashboards menu. So I got my dashboard, click on this. And here, since we have imported the NDJSON file, already we got a dashboard here, Heartbeat HTTP monitoring. Click on this and you can see useful information about each monitor being shown here. So now if I want to see information about only my site2 HTTP monitor, I'm going to just hover over this and click on the plus, so that only site2 HTTP monitoring information will be shown. I can see right away what are the IP addresses it has been resolved to, and I can see the whole monitoring status. It's up all the time, and since I'm seeing it for the last 1 hour, I can even change it to the last 24 hours or whatever the time you want. And you can see the plot. Since I don't have a lot of information, it's showing blank. Now let's change this time range to last 15 minutes. Now you can see the uptime here. The green is up, that means the whole time it was up actually. And this is the ping times. You can see the latency and all, and you even have a HTTP duration heat map. So you can see the distribution with time upon what is the latency of the site. So in this way, you will get an intuitive HTTP monitoring dashboard where you can monitor your monitors easily. Alright, till now we have talked about how to set up Heartbeat and how to see the data of Heartbeat in our observability tab, Discover tab, and in the dashboards. Alright, now let's talk about managing the Heartbeat storage. You know, in Elasticsearch, the storage is basically done in indices. So the data is stored in an index. So let's go to index management tab. I'm going to search for index management, and here you can see there are multiple tabs. By default, Heartbeat stores the data in a data stream. So if you don't know what an Elasticsearch data stream is, I've already covered it in my Elasticsearch introduction video, so check it out. For now, let's go to the data stream tab, and here a data stream called Heartbeat is created already. And if you click on that, this is the index template, and this is the lifecycle policy, and it has 1 indices under it. Let's try to click on that, and here you see an index called Heartbeat 8.10.2 timestamp, etc. So this is the index, and the data is being stored in this index, and already 53 documents are stored in this index. So the whole basis of index creation is index templates. So let's try to see the index templates here and search for Heartbeat. So there's an index template called Heartbeat. You can actually change the settings of your Heartbeat storage, etc. in this index template. So let's try to click on this, and let's try to go to manage, edit, and now you can change the index settings here. So in the logistics tab, I can choose whether to store the data in a data stream or a simple index. So if you don't want a data stream which is immutable indices, you can just turn it off. And in the index settings tab, you can actually change the whole settings of your index. For example, So if I don't want replicas, since mine is a single node database, I can just modify this JSON, and here I'm going to create a new thing called number of replicas, and I'll mention it as 0. Now my index will not use replicas, and at the end you can go to the review template and just save your templates. Now I can go to once again manage, edit, and go to the index settings, and at the bottom I can see number of replicas 0. So 0 replicas will be created for my index. And one more setting I want to mention here is, if you choose not to use a data stream, that means if you switch off this data stream, you'll get an error that role or alias is not defined. So in the index lifecycle section, you can go to the index lifecycle section. Along with name, just create a new attribute called rollover alias and give it an alias name. So I can just name it something like heartbeat 8.10.2, and then you can go to the review template and save the template. Again, go to manage, edit, and in the index settings you can see rollover alias. So that's how you can choose not to have a data stream, or you can choose some important index settings like replicas, lifecycle alias, etc. in this edit index template tab. Alright, you can even have data retention policy for your logs. That means if you're running heartbeat for say 1 year and you want to retain only last 3 months, you can automatically delete the data. That can be possible using index lifecycle policies. So in the search bar, just write lifecycle, and you can see index lifecycle policies. Click on that, and heartbeat by default uses this heartbeat index lifecycle policy, and here you can choose the data to be rolled over. So there is something called hot phase, warm phase, and cold phase. So based upon your settings, your data would be rolled over from hot phase to warm phase to cold phase. So here in the advanced settings, you already have a default. If I just turn it off, if each shard size, that means if each index size is more than 50 GB, it will be rolled over and a new index will be created. Or else if the age of the index is more than 30 days, it will be rolled over and a new index will be created. And then you have more settings like force merging, that means shards should be merged, shrinking, downsampling, read only. So these settings are required to optimize your storage and performance. Suppose I want to delete this data after a hot phase. So I'm going to just click on the delete button, and here you get the delete phase. Move data into this phase when it's by default 365 days. You can just name it as 90 days. That means after 90 days, the data would be deleted. So this way you can easily define a life cycle policy. So I mentioned delete phase, 90 days old. Let's try to save this policy. And now my data would be deleted after 90 days. So it's that simple to implement a data retention policy. So that's it, guys. We have used Kibana to visualize the data and even manage the settings of the indices and also the data retention. Alright, let's try to summarize how we set up the monitoring. First, we have installed and configured the heartbeat with the connectivity information and the monitors information. And then we ran a command to set up an index template in Elasticsearch, and then we have started the heartbeat service. And then in Kibana, we have imported an ng.json file from GitHub, and it has installed the default dashboards, index patterns, etc. And now you can conveniently see the dashboards. You can even use the observability tab in Kibana to see the uptime of the monitors. You can even see the raw logs generated by heartbeat in the discover section. You can use the index management page to actually change the settings of how the data will be stored by heartbeat. And then using the index lifecycle policy, you can even define the data retention of the heartbeat database. So that's it, guys. This is how you can use heartbeat to monitor the availability of websites or devices. You can see I've created a blog post on how to set up heartbeat in Windows for monitoring websites and servers. I've given you the images, notes, the commands, the configurations, so that you can copy paste and implement in your own environment. I've also given you the references to the official documentation, so please check them out if you want to know deeper on how to configure Heartbeat, Elasticsearch, and Kibana. Please ask questions or post your valuable feedback in the comment section. Hope you like this video, guys. Thank you for watching. Peace.